Hi. So today we're gonna read the news. Yippee. Because it's hard to keep track of this war. A lot of powerful people don't want you to worry about it. They want to distract you from how bad this is. And when the economy crashes this year, I think we should all have a clear record that this is why. This is one of the stupidest things the United States has done. And that's saying a lot. So let's take a look. CBS, okay. We'll see. Oop. Let's take a look at the most pointless war the United States has ever been in. Which is maybe saying a lot. Live updates. Iran war escalates, energy prices spike after Israeli strike on South Pars gas field. Okay, what's going on? The Iran war is escalating sharply after an Israeli strike on Iran's vast South Pars natural gas field. Iran is threatening zero restraint and retaliating with attacks on energy infrastructure across the region, including in Kuwait and Qatar, pushing oil and gas prices even higher. And this is like a big danger with this kind of thing. There are a lot of really stupid instances of like military attacks and stuff like that. And there's generally like a global understood. Oh, am I muted? I shouldn't be muted now. Hello. Might be an old message. There might be a delay. Let me know if you can hear me. Hello? Cool. So there's a history of back and forth attacks whenever there's any military aggression, because there's a general like tit for tat understanding of strategy, which is everyone should try to be nice and civil with each other. If someone attacks you, attack them back like with an equivalent attack, so they just know it's not worth it. If they attack you, they're gonna be hurt. And it's generally been pretty good in like the modern era of intelligence and computation at preventing like all out global. We have not had another world war, you know. Um, there are exceptions like the savage Russian invasion of Ukraine, but Ukraine is really smart and scrappy and leveraging drone tech and intelligence really effectively to protect their home against savage barbarians, which is pretty cool. But this might turn into something nasty. Because Iran was attacked first, and because there was not, in fact, evidence they had a nuclear program, there was no imminent threat, according to Joe Kent, who resigned over this. Um, Iran is not just like being dissuaded from something. Iran feels existentially threatened. Like Iran feels like they're just going to be destroyed. There's no conditions for this war that anyone's told them. It's just sort of ridiculous. It just seems endlessly destructive. And because of that, because there's no answers, Iran has to assume the worst. And I have no particular love for the Iranian regime, you know, or the Israeli regime at this point, or the American regime. But there's sort of a logic to it, typically. But now, like, Iran is just kind of going all out and causing as much harm as possible, because that's the only way to get the rest of Europe and, like, the NATO and stuff to intervene and do something about that, is trying to leverage what capabilities they have to create such an impact on the world economy that everyone else is like, stop it. Because I think everyone sort of realizes the loss of American lives at war, like American troops dying for this, is not is not no one cares, you know, like no one cares enough to stop. That's not dissuasive. That's not a factor. There's no like moral qualms from the Trump regime about this. I do not support one dictator. Lily is the best. I just don't support dictators. This is really just kind of causing the Iranian leadership to double down. There's been no regime change. They have every belief that they're under existential threat, and they're just going to keep going until the effect on the world economy is so great that Europe like holds back America and does something about Israel. This is going to radicalize more people against the USA, absolutely. Like from all political leanings, like no one supports this war. It does not make sense. I do not support Iran. I really don't support Iran. I don't support Iran. I don't support Israel in this. I don't support America in this. This is just bad for everybody. This is just economic stupidity. Iran just has their personal understanding that they either attack or they die. So they're just going to keep attacking. Because there's no conditions for the war, there's no like off ramp. There's no exit. There's no other way. Which means this is just going to keep spiraling and get worse, right? Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said Thursday would bring the largest strike package yet against Iran, as Joint Chiefs Chairman Dan Kane said the military is continuing to attack deeper into Iranian territory. And it's just stupid. He's asking for $200 billion for the war. The Pentagon is asking for an additional $200 billion for the war. Hegseth said, quote, that number could move, and, quote, it takes money to kill bad guys. This is a child running the Department of War. And there's just no understanding in this. There's no sense in this. And like it seems like more and more leaders around the world understand the severity of what has been done and that there's no easy way out of this. Yeah, the national deficit has crossed $39 trillion. Netanyahu addresses claims that Israel dragged U.S. into war. Does anyone really think that someone can tell President Trump what to do? Netanyahu asked during televised remarks Thursday night. Yes. Yes, in fact. Putin does it all the time. Also, this is not a denial. Come on, President Trump always makes his decisions on what he thinks is good for America, and may I add, I think what is also good for future generations. Whose future generations? This is ridiculous. I think it's pretty self-evident to a lot of people. Like, Trump is kind of just a psychopath, and he does stuff that is self-interesting to him in very short term. He's literally tried suing places and then just taking money and pocketing it personally, like from tax money from the American people. Gas prices don't affect him; they affect you and I. So it's just objectively, he's not doing what is good for America, and certainly not good for the American people. And what we're seeing right now is, thank you, Rod Taylor, for the rose, is the America First movement, which is a subset of the MAGA movement, has flipped on Trump for this. From what I can see, it seems about like 10 to 20% of the MAGA movement considers themselves more like America First. To them, to be MAGA is about ideology more than to be about Donald Trump like the person, like more of a cult of personality angle. And so like both groups, with not changing their mind, think now war is good and that's not a change in opinion, or war is bad and that's not a change in opinion. And that coalition continues to fracture. And it's really one to keep an eye on this year and for the next 2 years, because there's going to be a really messy fight for the future of this party. Trump administration has no plan to restrict oil and gas exports, U.S. officials say. In statements posted to social media at the same time, Energy Secretary Chris Wright, who previously was caught lying, saying that ships were being escorted through the Strait of Hormuz, and then had to retract that. So already not very trustworthy. And Interior Secretary Doug Burgum said the Trump administration, quote, has no plan to implement restrictions on oil and gas exports. Thanks to POTUS, the United States is the world's top oil and natural gas producer, the cabinet member said. We are also the largest natural gas exporter and a top oil exporter. To be clear, the Trump administration has no plan to implement restrictions on oil and gas exports. Is there an economic play buried in there? But all of this seems to be figured out as it's going on. We're getting different explanations along the way and different strategies. Another maggot triggered by the hat. Woo! Then here we have from 1:40 p.m. a U.S. intel chief acknowledges differences in U.S. and Israeli war aims, and this is really interesting. A U.S. sees pipeline in Saudi Arabia that is a target. Yeah, any oil anything is a target right now. Like Iran's only card right now, because they're in a corner, is to just go all out and cause as much economic harm as possible to the world stage. Because if they do enough, maybe Western European powers might help them. I mean, here's the weird thing. MAGA is also fine with sending their kids to war for this. A lot of support for the MAGA movement comes from like authoritarian perspectives psychologically, which are taught in childhood. It's very Freudian. A lot of them have daddy issues, were abused as children, and that's like absolutely how they view Trump, as like sort of a daddy figure. And it is wholly consistent. As selfish as they usually are, it is actually not like an inconsistency that they would send their own children to war. That's not a hesitation for them. They will send their own children and grandchildren to war. They're fully in support of that. It's weird. Your MAGA family asked why you haven't joined the military. I'm so sorry. That is awful. Don't die in an illegal war for oil. Don't do that. Tulsi Gabbard, who is a known Russian asset, said at a House hearing Thursday that President Trump's objectives, quote, are different than those laid out by the Israeli government. More confusing inconsistency. We can see through the operations that the Israeli government has been focused on disabling the Iranian leadership and taking out several members. Obviously beginning with the Ayatollah, the supreme leader, and they continue to focus on that, she said. Two things can be true. Yeah, the people who are grumpy about the war don't want to send their kids to the war. But even more that, like the people who are grumpy about the war care more about oil prices right now than their own family. A lot of their own family they've already cut out and are no contact with them. So this is just a terrible, terrible idea all around. I wonder how much the wars cost now. Has the $200 billion already been approved? How many people could we like give free food and healthcare to at this point? How many new homes could we build to lower the cost of housing, so everyone could have a home? Because Pete Hegseth wants $200 billion to, quote, kill bad guys. I don't hate America, I hate you. Let's see. So the Israeli government is focused on disabling Iranian leadership. The president has stated his objectives are to destroy Iran's ballistic missile launching capability. What's weird about this is it's been a few days, and it kind of seems like there's more. There's no clear objective from the outset, but this is kind of taking credit for the thing that has been successfully achieved, which is destroying missiles, and disavowing the stuff that hasn't worked, because they killed a bunch of leadership, and then they literally just put the guy's own more radical son in charge, which has changed nothing about Iran, but cost billions of dollars. By the way, lots of people are dead now. Like normal people, like civilians who haven't done anything wrong, including Americans. When Castro asked whether Israel is supportive of Mr. Trump's call to make a deal with Iran, Gabbard said she didn't know Israel's position. The director of national intelligence doesn't know Israel's position on this war she's talking about? Okay. So here's the thing about the stated objective. There have been several different explanations, and it's been like a cup game. One of them was to stop a nuclear program. 8 months ago, Donald took credit for destroying Iran's nuclear program. Was he lying then, or was he lying now? Because you cannot rebuild a whole nuclear program in 8 months. One possible interpretation, the best faith thing, is like maybe there was some more recent progress to rebuild it that they destroyed again. But what does, like, in the progress of making a nuclear program mean? Does that mean there's, like, they're literally half-finished building a big, cool missile in, like, a Fallout level? Or does that mean there's just, like, some scientists in a room, like, drawing on paper, like, some equations? Does that mean there's diplomatic debates going on that any person is reasonably able to have? Like, would it be, better to not have like a full disarmament, or like just to have a defensive system just in case, which is like the kind of diplomatic philosophy, like no one ever wants to use it, that like everyone has, those kinds of conversations, and that would be like a debate between like political leaders, stuff like that, and like diplomats. So it's like not really clear what they mean by that, and it's not consistent also. Yeah, that's the thing. Someone said in chat, yeah, you can't lose if you don't have a goal, and that's the problem. Is because Donald Trump's whole angle onto everything comes from marketing. Like he's really good at marketing and messaging to people. Too good. He has no substance to back it up. Hi. And so the like one problem is like he doesn't want to specify and own any specific agenda because that's a criteria he could succeed or fail on. Thank you for the kitty. He disabled their Air Force and Navy, but like why is that a good thing? Like what was their Air Force and Navy doing, you know? Why does that matter? And the problem is like their Air Force and their Navy are not really the problems. It's like their missiles and mines, which they're using to hold up global trade, which is causing real and direct harm to like oil prices, the stock market, the cost, the value of the dollar, kind of everything. It's a big, big, big domino effect. Like, is their Air Force Navy like a threat to anyone? Was it? I mean, I don't know, maybe. But like they weren't attacking people, so I'm not like actively worried about their Air Force Navy. It's not an imminent threat. Gabbard also said she did not have an answer for why Israel decided to strike Iranian energy infrastructure, despite Mr. Trump's demand that those facilities be off limits. So that's interesting. It seems like Donald Trump is losing control of Israel. And all signs point to Israel tried to bait the United States into this war, and it seemed to work this time. They tried the same thing with Joe Biden, and Joe Biden didn't go for it. They tried this time. The U.S. got in this. Israel is once again kind of going all out past the point of like any reasonable defense and just outright aggression. And Trump is not in control. And Tulsi Gabbard, the National Intelligence Director, does not have an answer for that, which should be concerning. I was looking at a video the other day, one of the Ezra Klein show, who was in like a former Trump administration, trying to give explanations for this war and like compiling all those reasons. There's quite a few. We have to destroy their nukes. We have to just stop them from rebuilding nukes. We have to destroy their ballistic missiles. They're going to attack Israel. This is about oil. There's like a few reasons. Oh, there's a global terror network. But the director of counterterrorism resigned over this, saying there was no imminent threat. And to start a war without congressional approval, the emergency power, you need an imminent threat. And there's been no proof of that. And people have come out and said there like literally was none. This is an illegal war. You need to go through Congress and get approval. Because Congress has the power of the purse. Congress is supposed to give you money to do shit. Especially stupid shit like this. And because Congress you elect more directly, more consistently. And so they're meant to represent you. Like, should your tax dollars go to this? And he just did it without anyone's consent. He just took the money from the account that we all collectively fund. The Constitution's a bit of a joke. Some judges are still enforcing the Constitution, some are not. Congress is a joke right now. Republicans, impressively, could not even hang on to their own majority. And they have so many resignations that I think they're one vote away from losing the majority currently in the House before the midterm elections even. And Congress is elected, the House of Representatives is elected every 2 years for all of them. In the Senate, it's 6-year terms. So they're kind of staggered. Usually have some like every 2 years. The House is definitely going to go blue. The Senate, it was meant to be like, it's going to stay red. It's just like the seats that are up, there's like less for Democrats to win. But based on all of the special elections we've seen, all the like midterm primaries and stuff, there's huge Democratic turnout because they're pissed and they're informed voters, whereas Republicans are not because they just show up to vote for Donald Trump. So based on the exceptional data we're seeing from that, it's now within the realm of possibility the Senate will flip blue. It still does not mean Democrats, even if they did control the House and Senate, could really pass anything. Because even if both houses passed something, which I don't believe in the leadership of Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries to do that, it would still have to be signed by Donald Trump, unless they could override a veto. And it would just get vetoed. And they do not have the votes to override a veto. But it would stop Congress from doing anything bad. Well, the whole Middle East right now is actually being attacked because Iran is just lashing out. Like it's pretty dangerous and reckless right now because Iran is basically in a corner. Like, and this is what any like animal does too. It's what you would do if you were like literally in a corner and you thought you were gonna die. It's like extinction burst kind of behavior. Is this sort of freak out and just attack everything that they can because they're just desperate. They're desperate and it's like their only card to play. And even countries that are like more politically neutral, trying to stay out of it or more sympathetic to America, and this restriction on like global oil shipping in and out of the strait dominoes into just oil prices in general. Because even if some of the oil that comes through Iran becomes like more expensive because it's less supply for the demand, it's a global oil market, right? So just making some oil rarer reduces the overall global supply of Iran, and therefore increases the price. So it's maybe like good if you're like invested in oil right now, but to everyone else, it's like way harder to actually get oil, and it's just causing like logistical disasters that are going to build up and build up and build up, and they're going to take, it's very easy and quick to destroy stuff, and to start a buildup of problems. Fixing this and righting this is going to take years. Here's also a problem. Everyone's pissed right now. The economy has stalled out. There has been no white-collar job creation within the past 6 months that we know now based on the adjusted jobs reporting. The price of oil is going up. The price of food keeps going up. People are pissed right now, and they're going to vote for Democrats to go into Congress, which can stop some of the harm. Maybe. Not much, but some. Then, because Democrats are nice and naive and try to do good things, from 2026 to 2028, they're going to try and minimize the harm and do good things. And during that period, if we finally get the delayed payoff of this recession, then a lot of stupid people will blame it on the Democrats that got elected in 2026, even if they didn't do anything to cause it. And it's really just like, this is already happening. Dominoes are already there. Because it'll be after a bunch of Democrats get elected, even if it's just a coincidence, Democrats will be blamed if it's bad. If things go well, even if Democrats do manage to cause some reforms and changes and improve the economic situation from 2026 through 2028, then Donald Trump, as the Republican in the White House, will take all the credit for himself. So, what's the problem of this midterm election is, even though Democrats are going to win a bunch, that means any bad things from this Trump term will get memory hold. And then any bad things will be blamed on Democrats, and any good things he will give himself credit for. Even though Trump's big bad bill has caused the highest deficit in the history of this country, which is $39 trillion, and it's going to go up with this war. It's bad. Yeah, and I'm really worried, too, because like there's going to be the World Cup and the Olympics on the same day in the United States. And I'm scared of that. I'm not going to go to that. I didn't have any particular plans to, but I'm really worried about another 9/11 type attack. Some people have already speculated there could be a false flag attack or something. I don't know about that. It was some member in Iranian leadership posted about that on like Twitter or Blue Sky or whatever it was. And then he was killed a couple days later because they've just been killing lots of leadership. I still don't put a lot of faith in that because as Iranian leadership, he's incentivized to be anti-Israel. Just like, regardless of how you cut it. It's not endorsing or condemning the position. Just like the game theory of it. He's incentivized to say if there's any terror, it's Israel's fault. Regardless of who caused it. But it's caused a lot of fears and speculation because no one knows anymore. There's so much misinformation, especially with AI and everything. And there's no plan. And that's like the real scary danger of something like this. Expectations are hugely, hugely, hugely important. More so than like truth even, or whether something's good or bad. Because people know what to expect. They can make an evaluation based on that. Either their expectations are met, even if it's something bad, and you're not worried about that. Like, if you know something's going to be bad and then it's bad, you're fine. You don't really care. You're not going to get worked up about that. If something's going to be good and it's good, that's fine. If you think something's going to be good and then it's bad, you get really pissed, which is why a lot of MAGA voters are flipping over this war. If you think something's gonna be bad and then it's better than you thought, people are happy with it and people don't mind. But there's no expectations that have been set or clearly communicated or consistently held out. So people are starting to worry and they're starting to speculate. That like undefined space is always, always dangerous on the internet because that's where you get lots of conspiracy theories starts to pop up. You go back to things like the moon landing or like JFK. Like the average person just doesn't know a lot, and there's not a lot of information available to them that's not classified or like that they can't comprehend. It's just like not available to the general public, or if it is, they can't like parse it. It's just too high level. And whenever people aren't sure how something works, people don't like feeling unsure and they try to fill in some explanation. And you get a lot of conspiratorial thinking. This war is going to cause all kinds of wild spikes and flares of anti-Semitism, of Islamophobia, of like anti-American sentiment, just everything. Because people are just grasping at straws here. Yeah, people are just milling about that anything is normal. Yeah. And like that's the weird thing. It's like a lot of people, even with Donald Trump, like they knew there was going to be harm to immigrants. They did give informed consent to that because they're bad people. They knew he was a sexual abuser and a misogynist and a racist. They gave informed consent to that. And that's why it doesn't bother them. People will literally typically go for something they know is bad rather than something they don't know. Kamala Harris, by contrast, did not have the time to clearly define herself. And that's why a lot of people just didn't trust her and didn't vote for her. They could trust Trump to be bad. And that sounds nonsensical, but that's just how human brains work. It's like an animal computer and try to just like stand on solid ground and have a position to work from. Yeah, it's a false misinformation as well. So like I'm really worried about this. We're going to see increasing spikes in Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, and anti-Americanism, like all of it. All of it. We're going to see weird sort of third-party type movements because the establishment is free real estate right now. Like the Democrats can't really say or do anything. They don't have any power, but everyone loves hating on liberals. The Republicans have all the power and people are turning on them. You're going to get weird red-brown alliances because you have like Groypers coming in, you have ex-MAGA people coming in, you have leftists coming in. Some progressives are now spiraling if like they lost elections in the midterms, in like primaries, about why, and they're going to speculate about control or suppression. It's sort of like the worst-case scenario where anyone who distrusts anything right now has time to try and make a name for themselves for attention and try to build some movement for 2028. Like there's that outside incentive as well. So it's just really bad circumstances for that. And a huge incentive on the horizon. So that's something to look forward to. The SAVE Act is the worst thing that I've ever seen. I don't even think Republicans have the votes to pass it. They're literally trying to beg to like have the talking filibuster to try and get it to pass, and it still won't work. The implications on democracy are horrific because like the SAVE Act, like I don't think they read it. There's a general sentiment to like an average uninformed voter of like, oh, voter ID. That makes sense. So you can't like cheese an election or vote falsely, right? But when you register to vote, you do give your personal information. Like I registered to vote when I like got my state ID. You already have proven your identity when you register to vote. No more mail voting, yeah, which is awful because so many people are busy during a weekday. Like only like middle class people can afford to take a day off. Voting should be a holiday. So you've already like proven, you know, who you are when you sign up to vote, just to be on the voter rolls anyway. And like it doesn't occur to anybody to go out of their way just to vote and pretend to be someone else because that's not cool. That's a huge waste of your time on like a random weekday. No one cares that much. People don't care to vote at all. You know, like there's no incentive for that among normal people. No one wants to vote too much. Like that's not the problem America has. That's not the problem America has. I know somebody who's like a leftist and was butthurt that Bernie Sanders lost to Joe Biden in the 2020 primary. They did not vote in the 2020 primary. They could have, and just didn't. And we're like, well, he lost. I'm like, okay, you know that was your job, right? They just don't care. And it's like I don't know. I voted for Bernie in that. Like, they don't try at all, and they still expect certain consequences, which is sad. Like, I don't know. I like good things. If you think you have a better progressive idea that would help people and like, you know, you can control external circumstances and consequences of it, sure, go for it. But you have to actually go for it. but they don't. So they get what they get. So people don't vote when they could and they should. Um, Also, I think there's a pretty well understood thing. We all know, right, that like if you try to impersonate someone else and vote as them, um, that seems bad. That seems like that's a crime. That's like obviously a crime. We all understand that. There's already consequences for that. You get in a lot of trouble. And like, if someone was gonna do a crime they've never done a crime before, I would do something like sneaky, you know? Because I'd be embarrassed and shy and scared. And I'd do it like where nobody would see me. Going to vote, it's like, it's full of people who are all like politically on edge right now because they're scared about the like alignments of everyone else standing in line. And like, there's a lot of like local people there. So they would be like your neighbors in your community who would judge you if you did anything. There's lots of like poll workers there, like lots of authority figures that are also local people you'd have to face the next week. Like, it's a lot of pressure. It would be so hard to do, and it'd be so scary, and no one wants to. So it doesn't really happen. So, like, this is a crime that would be, like, really hard and awkward to do, would require an exceptional, like, nerdy motive. Like, I just really want to vote too much, which is the most, like, politician brain thing to assume people would do. Like, no one does it. No one does it. It's a valid hypothesis. If, like, that's something you're worried about, like, someone cheating in elections. I don't like cheaters. No one likes cheaters. And yeah, the majority of cases they found, which are very, 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 very few cases, were Republicans. And guess what? We found them. Like, they get in trouble, you know? Like, that, it works out. So, like, I don't know. I prefer solving problems that are bigger and more common problems. Does that make sense? And this is a great way, I think, to check implicit biases. Because there are people online who, like, one example I always go back to is, like, feminism. They consider themselves anti-feminists. And they would find some woman in media, and then, like, you know, she lied about something once or whatever. Or she misrepresented this video game. And then they'd be really upset about it. And the problem is they thought that everyone who was, like, pro-feminist or whatever was, like, ignoring the fact she made some misstep or did something wrong, and they just don't see it. It's like, no. Everyone sees that, but it's not a big deal. And it's not about, like, was it right or wrong? It's like, are you proportioning your emotional response and your time and your level of scrutiny and your level of judgment proportional to, like, the real world? You know, you may think, I don't hate women, but, like, it seems like you spend 8 hours a day on social media just hate watching videos about women bad. And it's like, you know, at a point you have to step back and, like, just look at the data, like a pie chart. Like, does this feel a little tilted to you? Does this feel like a bias? So something like, you know, we gotta stop corruption in voting. It's like, I get you want to stop crime and like unfairness and cheaters. That makes sense. But if you look into it, this is not a big deal. And if we want to, like, stop, like, corruption and stuff, we should, like, allocate our resources to where there's the most stuff. Like, what are the crimes that are happening more? We should throw more money at them. Like, proportionally, if you have a fair and, like, level-headed view of stuff, and but your single issue, like, fixation is, like, law and order or, like, stopping crime, you shouldn't be spending time on this. It does not make sense to do that. Like, the returns are so low. Like, it's not making a difference. It's just bad. And it's like, you know, I could be totally with you. Like, yeah, law and order or whatever. But, like, what are you doing here? Like, why are you just being really suspicious about people voting normally, like, and trying to solve a non-issue problem? And also, they say law and order, they just end up, like, obsessing about, like, minorities and immigrants. And, like, the reason why the left doesn't get upset about immigrants doing a crime is because we have, like, a legal system, and they get prosecuted for that crime. And they'll be like, why aren't the leftists talking about this? Why aren't the liberals talking about this? It's like, because it's not an exception to the rule. Like, that's getting handled. Good. No one's saying people should get to do crime for free. But it's like this proportionality that's just out of whack. So the SAVE Act tries to solve a problem that statistically is a non-problem. And they've made this, like, their top order thing. Like, this is what Congress is spending all of their time and all of their, like, social media, all their voice, all their attention obsessing over. And it doesn't work. It's just not worth it. Like, not only, like, not the votes, it's weird, and their solutions are bad. Because when people think, oh, like, have voter ID prove yourself, there's not a problem. It's already good enough. And to prove you're you when you go to vote, everyone assumes you just have to show your, like, ID. Like, your state ID or your driver's license. But that's not true. That is not true. You need to show a passport. Which most people in America do not have a passport. Like, if you're middle class and you like travel to different countries, you have a passport. A lot of people just never got a passport. I never got a passport. It takes time and it takes money. You have to make like an appointment to get one. It's a whole thing. And so they expect no one will know about this and they won't have time to get a passport. And yeah, passports expire because we don't use them enough because we're Americans. In Europe, you got a passport because every country is this big and people go across them all the time in every different direction. Yeah, there's like just a big wait time. But like in America, like there's never a reason to leave America. Like getting a passport, there's no reason to do that. Unless you're like a business class career professional. Or you just really like big fancy vacations, which probably means you're in the vacation. You're in the family of like a white collar business professional. And you have that privilege there. But like if most people are not traveling internationally. The other option you can bring, which most people just don't have, if you do have, it's probably like in a filing cabinet somewhere, is your original birth certificate, which no one carries on them. It's like it's the size of a piece of printer paper, right? Like you can't just carry that around. You don't want to fold it or wrinkle it. So that just doesn't make sense. That's just not a normal person thing to do. And if you've ever changed your name, the birth certificate needs to match that. Now, most people's, if you change your name, your birth certificate is not automatically updated. That's a separate process. It's a pain in the butt. It takes time. Especially like any women who get married and change their name, this basically means none of them can vote. Unless they knew about this rule, they're plugged in enough to know about this rule, and they went out of their way to go back and change their birth certificate for no practical reason aside from this. So this is like a weird waste of time and money on everyone's part, just because they're afraid of people voting. Like the Republicans did so bad at their jobs, they're basically scrambling to make sure no one can fire them. Huh. Which I'm scared. Thank you for subscribing. So the SAVE Act is really, really, really bad. And also because this Congress is just like evil and kind of a clown show and incompetent. And what's funny is they even made themselves have a harder time being able to pass this themselves. Because what they did was they amended it. They put other stuff into the SAVE Act also. That's entirely unrelated. Because this Congress like can't even pass bills normally. So they've added into the SAVE Act random anti-trans nonsense. Just unrelated issues like trans sports. So this is a clown show of a bill. Like it does not make sense to anyone. No one likes this. Even if you could get like maybe some people on board with like voter ID, this is a ridiculous take on voter ID if you look into it for 2 seconds. But even if you could get someone to agree to that, it's also really transphobic. Or if you're maybe really just transphobic and that's your one thing, are you also on board with the weird voter suppression? So like the SAVE Act is one of the worst things they've ever done. And they just keep getting up their own butts about it. And they don't have the votes. And so lots of the Republicans in Congress are turning on each other. And lots of people who watch Republican news sources or like are on Twitter, Elon Musk is funding like a huge surge of bots to be like, we gotta pass the SAVE Act, because none of them know what it is. And they're all just fighting each other and like, yelling at their own Republican representatives to pass the SAVE Act. But it's bad. It's just, you can never vote us out no matter how incompetent we are act. That's really what it is. So all of that, meanwhile, is like what Republicans are actually doing while this war is happening. This illegal war they did not consent to. And that is going to blow another $200 billion of taxpayer money. While they're also, everyone in Congress is cashing paychecks to pass literally no legislation. Some of them are grandstanding so hard over the SAVE Act, they're literally saying they're not going to try, even hold a vote to pass any other legislation until this gets passed, which is actively bragging about not doing their jobs. It just feels like a straight up no confidence thing. I wish there was some way to just auto eject them from the job. But yeah, like that's what's happening at home while the Iran war is escalating, which is awful. Oil's going to keep getting more expensive. Congress is doing nothing to help it, but trying to just keep their jobs that they're doing nothing with and stopping you from being able to fire them and get someone more competent in charge. How are we doing? Whew, sorry about that. I just need a second to catch my breath. I'm going to take a sip of my drink. Oh yeah, do you see this one here? Um, Trump draws parallel between Pearl Harbor and U.S. strikes on Iran in meeting with Japanese PM. I'm going to start another recording. This is one of the most ridiculous headlines to come out of this whole nonsense illegal war that nobody voted for. And it's hard to be surprised or really laugh at anything that this country does anymore. But this might be the rare exception that's still kind of funny, and it feels like a bit. Trump draws parallel between Pearl Harbor and U.S. strikes on Iran in meeting with Japanese PM. And my big question is, to what extent does he know he's joking? And to what extent is he just not aware of what's going on? I really don't have an answer in good faith, and I'm curious what you all think. We're going to watch the clip.
One question, why didn't you tell US allies in Europe and Asia, like Japan, about the war before attacking Iran? So we are very confused about we Japanese citizens.
Well, one thing, you don't want to signal too much. You know, when we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay? Right? You know, he's asking me, no, you believe in surprise, I think much more so than us. And we had to surprise him, and we did. And because of that surprise, we knocked out, the first 2 days, we probably knocked out 50% of what we, and much more than we anticipated doing. So if I go and tell everybody about it, there's no longer a surprise, right?
So that's an excuse we've seen a couple times. Also in the Ezra Klein interview with a former Trump administration official, trying to justify this war and failing to do so, is that, well, it was a surprise. And if we stopped and told our allies first, or if we stocked up our emergency backup supply of oil first so we could avoid a big oil spike like this, or if we got congressional approval, which they're legally required to do, we would not be able to do it. It wouldn't be a quick surprise. Which is, I know they want to do a surprise, but you don't legally get to do a surprise. Like, just because you want to do something does not mean you're allowed to do something. And even if you think there's advantages, it's still illegal, and it's still kind of a war crime, and it's in violation of the Constitution of the United States, which used to matter to some people. It's very bizarre. And also, like, constitutional law and ethics aside, it's practical to tell your allies, because if you want your allies' help, they need time to prepare. If you or your allies want time to prepare and mitigate the consequences, let alone to help you or not, but just to shore up their own supplies of oil or like make a backup plan, or just, you know, be safe, like, they should know. This is the U.S. going rogue, like going pretty rogue. Yeah, the Gang of Eight was formed. Yeah, at least the Republicans. Yeah, but like Japan just didn't know, and other countries are confused. And the weird thing about this is such a failure of like basic policy that has consequences, and this is how a movement kind of fractures. This is like really, really bad. So for the past year, Donald Trump has been attacking our own allies, like saying very mean things and putting tariffs on everybody, which is aggressive, antagonistic trade policy. Yeah, if you look at it from a lens of breaking the world in three but wanting to mess up the rest of the world before you actually makes perfect sense. Yeah, it's causing chaos. Thank you for subscribing. So, yeah, it's very good at causing like lots of wild consequences. No one sees the advantage here. So I'll throw the tariffs and everything. He's pissed off all of our allies. And now he's trying to like ask them for help in a war he didn't consult them on before starting. That impacts all of them negatively. He's attacking the world economy. And at a point you have to wonder, like, are the other European powers and Western powers, including places like Japan, maybe even Korea, are going to tell us no. Like this is really going to unite the world against America. All the countries I would consider to be good, a bit more advanced, a bit well off. This pisses all of them off. And like I can't shake the feeling what we're watching is basically a South Park episode. Like Cartman has just been being awful to everyone else the entire time. And now that he needs something and something happens to him, he's like whining and begging for help. And everyone's like, no, asshole, we're not going to do that. Reap what you sow. And there's no amount of like excuses and justification for this. Also, I wonder, was he making a conscious joke or was he just not really aware? We know Donald Trump is terrible at history, but as this specifies, the attack on Pearl Harbor happened in 1941, and the US declared war on Japan the next day. That was a different Japan. That was a very different Japan with different leadership. When was Donald Trump born? I don't even think he was born yet. I'm going to look that up. When was Donald Trump born? Donald Trump was born on June 14th, 1946 in Queens, New York City. So I don't know. I don't know entirely if he's trying to just make some general vague joke. It is an excuse. It does not address the situation at all. It's a little delusional. Does he think he was around when Pearl Harbor happened? Does he think she was? Because even though it's still called Japan, it was like an imperial country. It was just a fundamentally different country at the time. And so is the United States now. So it's just a complete non sequitur, and that's like the only defense they have. It's such a bad excuse. And why I see this going really, really bad for like the Trump coalition going forward is because Democrats have had the same thing happen to them. Going back into like the 2016 election cycle, Bernie Sanders' idea for like Medicare for all got a lot of like popularity among people, and then Hillary Clinton never like adopted that plan specifically, and people never thought she gave like a satisfying addressal of that. Like there's just this dismissiveness of that new like progressive segment, which has caused distrust that lasts now like a decade later, like a whole factional distrust of just this doesn't make sense to me. Like you're not giving me any satisfying answer. You're not giving me any expectation that can be met. We've seen the same thing with like the Joe Biden administration on Israel in the Middle East and Palestine. Like there's just not been any satisfying answer for this. And this strategy that he's trying once again of just messing around and not giving any real answers or explanations is really, really, really catching up for him. Because even people who are like more war hawkish and want to justify and excuse whatever he does, they need like a line of talking points and like a line of argument that they can at least like pretend to rally behind. But there's no there's nothing. There's no through line here. There's no narrative you can tell yourself at night to stay on board and pretend you've always supported this, which makes it really hard. Do I think they will run Rubio or Vance? That's a good question. And this is really setting that up, right? Because the reactions to this war are going to impact who they run. Because Marco Rubio is like a neocon war hawk who really wanted to attack Iran. And J.D. Vance does not like wars. He's anti-war. I think J.D. Vance also weirdly projects himself onto like boys and men a lot. He's not good at it. Like J.D. Vance is too old to do this and it's creepy. But he's talked about being anti-abortion and that like there's a little boy in there, which feels very much like a personal cry for help, like he was afraid he was going to be aborted. And I wonder if J.D. Vance is like, no, there can't be war because like I see myself in that teenage boy and I don't want to die. It's weird. It's creepy. But J.D. Vance has cornered that more isolationist angle a little bit, where he's claiming like America first. But no one likes J.D. Vance. He feels sort of like a carpetbagger because he's bankrolled by Peter Thiel. He's creepy. Like J.D. Vance I think is disgusting. He wants the Handmaid's Tale to be a thing. He's a creep. Rubio I think is the bigger threat. Marco Rubio has been in the Republican Party for a long time. He used to be very anti-Trump and is now doing whatever he wants. He's the Secretary of State and something else as well. He has like 2 jobs, which is weird. And he's in that inner circle and he's like a quiet suck-up. But Marco Rubio can present himself as a more like normal looking politician. Um, which is like kind of scary because people can kind of trust him a little more with stuff, even when they shouldn't. Um, so people think that Marco Rubio is like the sane voice in the room, but he's not. Actually, he's like completely flipped. He was very like principally anti-Trump, and now he's a psych up to that. But younger people like Gen Z hasn't seen him long enough to know. I'm gonna take a break really quick. Sorry about that. I had a light cough. Um, so Marco Rubio is a bigger danger because he seems more normal. If they respond positively to the war, which seems like most of them are, at least currently, like about 80% of Republicans, um, Marco Rubio is like symbolic of that. Basically, the war approval rate is Rubio's approval rate, and the war disapproval rate is going to be Vance's approval rate. Marco Rubio also is Hispanic, right? And the Republican Party has been making inroads trying to get more and more Hispanic men on board as part of their party. And so Marco Rubio can play to that a little bit, and it's like sort of a dangerous thing. Is like any identity politics kind of play. Like obviously Democrats are measurably better at ensuring racial equality, but Marco Rubio to be like, look, he could be our first Hispanic president, which could be bad. Marco Rubio, I do think, has a bit of a DeSantis problem, where I think a lot of the Republican Party runs on toxic masculinity. And Marco Rubio has how do I put this? A feminine voice, sort of a high voice. And he was in the picture of the Inner Circle members wearing giant clown shoes that Trump bought them. And they're too big to fit, and they're too scared to tell him that they don't fit. And Ron DeSantis, part of why he tanked was also because he was caught wearing like high heels to seem taller and to seem bigger and to seem more manly. And toxic masculinity internalizes homophobia. It's not a good thing, but it might be a useful thing in stopping a bad person. And frankly, from the outside, like if there had to be a Republican president, Marco Rubio is harm reduction compared to JD Vance. 100%. JD Vance is owned by creepy billionaire Peter Thiel, and JD Vance does not understand women or people. JD Vance it just has some weird, creepy Freudian little boy thing going on. Keep him away from power. And luckily, it seems like no one likes JD Vance. Yeah, Marco Rubio. Yeah, Cuban ancestry. Like Marco Rubio is bad, but JD Vance is worse. And no one likes JD Vance. And so Trump has groomed these two as like his heirs and has refused to take a side either way. Because he keeps his options open, and that way everyone's still competing for his affection, and no one is turning on him. Because if he clearly chose one and not the other would lead like a rebellion movement against him. So everyone has one foot in being on his side, so they don't turn on him. I don't know when or if he will actually choose a successor. He might not. He's like so narcissistic. I don't know if he can let go. But going with the Iran war does seem like something Rubio would have put in his ear. So we'll have to see. What do I want to look at next? Oh yeah, there's something else I want to talk about. This is a bit different. I'm going to pull up MS Paint. So something I'm very curious about is like the weird mindset of people who support this cult, especially now as oil prices are climbing. And it makes less sense. It seems self-destructive to do so. Let's see if we can get a little MS Paint on the screen. 1 second. Ha! There we go. Cool. Hi. So, why do people still support the weird MAGA regime even when it's embarrassing, objectively wrong? Not any, even just the moral stuff aside, because we can assume there's no empathy going on, but just economically. Right now, to be a Trump supporter is to support an illegal war that nobody voted for, that a lot of them literally voted against, while your gas prices and food prices and rent prices keep going up. Why do people support that? There are a few causes, and I kind of want to talk about them, but there's like one core loop. And what a lot of people don't understand, as Republicans try to court a new generation, is they went for gamers. And you may wonder why that is, but I think there's a very clear reason it was always going to be gamers. Back in the day, their main target demographic was baby boomers. And they'll be the baby boomers. And the baby boomers ingested lead. We got lead that went into them. That's really bad, I'm sorry. And then they also had a huge measurable trend of abusive authoritarian fathers. Like when they were like little kids. And these are baby boomers, right? So it was a few decades ago. Quite a few decades ago, like 50s and 60s. Their dads would come home and they would be drunk and abusive and insult and hit their moms and hit them too. Some of them may even have had abusive or neglectful mothers who were going insane from those conditions. Yeah, Gen X got led too. And so as they got older, like these are the patterns that really burn into their brain. They saw authoritarianism, like this kind of abusive, aggressive behavior from their fathers, as like normal and familiar. And there's something comforting about that, whatever you grew up with, right? Like that nostalgia for that. That's what it's supposed to be. That's what they model. And a lot of them, especially if they're like young boys, they were still looking for a male role model, and that's just what they had. And so they internalized some of that. Like that's what that's supposed to look like. Lead, which is very prominent among like boomers and Gen X growing up, was in lots of paint and stuff. If you ingest lead, it's bad for you. It's bad for your brain. It's not okay. Like we have microplastics today. These were their microplastics. And when you're exposed to lead, parts of your brain don't work as well. And people who have lead poisoning, on average, have lower IQs and are more prone towards like violent outbursts and tendencies. So these are people who were exposed to lots of that stuff, like lots of that behavior, and then exposed to ingesting chemicals that cause that behavior. By the time they grew up and got old and had their own money to spend, and they became valuable as consumers, you got stuff like Fox News and talk radio, like Rush Limbaugh and stuff. Fox News. Once media got deregulated through Reagan, the fairness doctrine went away, and then companies started figuring out how do we cater to people with those biases instead of just making news like normal news. And what they found is this, related to all of this. There's a part of the brain called the amygdala. The word of the day is amygdala. We're going to put it down here. Amygdala. And the amygdala is a little part of your brain that is responsible for reactions of shame and like fear and anger and disgust. Stuff like that. Like, you know, if you go, that's using your amygdala if you're just feeling scared. And so what usually happens, and Fox News was watching that, right? They were up here, they were watching this, is you would have some external stimulus come in that was like gross. Oop, we're gonna go back to our pen. Some little thing that's bad. And then your amygdala goes, and then you react back outwards. We're going to talk about what these stimuli and reaction is. So this stimuli is something that's like disgusting or scary or anxiety-inducing or like gross. A normal version of this is like you see a cockroach go by and you go, ah, and your first instinct in that moment is to like lash back out, like step on the cockroach. And that's what this kind of out thing is this sense of like violence or dominance or like control, like act now, go. And the amygdala, when it's going like that, like it's a very quick reaction. Have you ever seen a game show where you have to buzz in for an answer? The amygdala is basically like it's the person who decides the strategy. I'm just gonna start buzzing in as fast as I can, every single time, like regardless of whether I know the answer, because that's just likelihood. I'm gonna hit it when I need to. I'm gonna be prepared to hit it. So when you have people who grew up exposed to lots of lead and lots of authoritarianism, they were really used to being scared growing up, like a lot. That like scared, danger, tense kind of thing. These days, among like, and you can see this like across the political spectrum as well. On like the left, you could probably see like Tumblr girls and stuff, and like queer people on Reddit will use a different term like CPTSD, which is basically like PTSD, but it's when you're in like sustained bad circumstances so long, your brain doesn't really like have a way out. It's not just like one bad scary thing that happened, it was like constant. So you acclimated to that. I don't believe this is actually like a diagnosis yet. It could be it's like just normal PTSD, but it's the same sort of like pattern of thinking, right? And so what happened is when they grew up in these conditions, in these like CPTSD type conditions, where their brain was not good at processing higher level thought or emotional regulation because the lead destroyed those parts of the brain, but they got really used to seeing scary stuff and they developed these symptoms. Every time that happened, it was basically like doing like a workout rep with their amygdala. And so over time, they got really good at using their amygdala. And like that game show contestant, they hit that every time. That's what they're used to. That's what they're prepared for. They're like ready. They have like one foot on that button. So that's the kind of mechanism in your brain, right? When this happens, you start to see results over time. And there's been a study that's done. You can look this up. I don't like necessarily pulling up sources on my end for stuff because a lot of bad faith commenters and stuff will just be like, prove it and make you do more work to pull up more sources all the time. And they ask in bad faith. So I'm like, look that up. You will find it. You will trust it more if you look it up. But like I've read this before stream. So the amygdala of conservatives in adulthood is like bigger. It's like meteor. It's like a big throbbing amygdala. Just that fear button. Because that's like what they've been trained on a lot. So if you have a big amygdala, you're more likely to be conservative. The one causes the other. So what companies like Fox News figured out is they could appeal to this. Because, you know, that sort of nostalgia familiarity thing, right? Even if your childhood was bad, even if you're kind of aware of that, there was also what they saw as like a positive male role model. That's what they saw the world to be. That's what they expected the world to be. And that instinct kind of never left. So they saw this and they started utilizing this, right? So instead of just like, oh, a scary bug or whatever, it's seeing like bad thing, like anxiety-inducing news story, is they press down on the amygdala. And then in this amygdala is like state, like in this reaction, so that's like that external like humiliation or anxiety or disgust or like anger kind of going in. Like they show you something scary and bad. Here's where you sit in that like fear and shame, which is not a place that mentally anyone ever wants to be. Like you just don't want to be in this box. Like feeling those feelings. So what people try to do is they try to push back and externalize that and make the bad thing go away. Which means like, you get angry. This is why like some Republicans get so used to this, because also they're showing the same kinds of stories all the time, that it's like classical conditioning, like Pavlov's dogs. And like blue hair makes their blood boil, just like the concept of blue hair. Just like that's the stimuli they're used to seeing and then reacting to bad, icky, gross with. So there are some instances of conservatives will literally be driving by and see a protest, and they'll just try running people over with their car. Or they'll just try like assaulting someone or like pull a weapon on them. And they don't even necessarily know why. Like this is just such an unconscious, like instinct quick draw response Thank you. I'm glad you like my hat. You can get it at my website, she'srachel.com. But like, so they hit that kind of feeling, right? I think even like the red they use as branding that really caught on. Red is like an anger color. It's very active, like danger, alert. So like they really, really deeply programmed in that reaction. These days, if you argue with the conservative, they will freak out, especially if you show them something embarrassing, like reminding them of the Epstein files. That's like a bad thing and that they know is bad. They do know it's bad. They do have shame. They only have shame. They're not like ignorant. They do know. But then they feel shame about that. They feel insecure about that. They feel stupid. They feel duped, which puts them into the sense of like shame and humiliation. And so their instinct is to lash out. They will like call you an insult and then they'll just run away. They'll be like, oh, TDS. And then they just dip immediately and they flee. This is why. It's that like trained, they feel shame and then they push back on that. And this is what talk radio and like Rush Limbaugh and Fox News and now Newsmax used for years and years and years. This was the loop. So what do you do among newer generations, among younger generations? How do you get them on board with a fanatical kind of worldview that just objectively is not here to help them? And people have kind of realized is not here to help them, especially after seeing like Obama pass the Affordable Care Act, which is not perfect and limited, but like, oh, government can do something. Government can be cool. The Republican Party was kind of over. Mitt Romney also did not catch them. And it's like what Donald Trump kind of tapped into was this feeling, was this anger, this sense of like disgust, instinctive amygdala reaction at like the president is mixed race and half black. Like that just impulsive, instinctive, ugly gut bigotry fear they haven't examined was just this. And he offered them that. Like, what if we got like rage and revenge? What if I offered you this red arrow back out? A way to punch back, to hurt. And that like, that was the outlet they were looking for, and they were rushed to this. But you didn't just need the baby boomers to do this, right? You needed to replenish your numbers for a new generation. So they did. Have you seen this loop anywhere else? Have you showed them bad thing, bad scary thing, and then they feel shame, and then rather than deal with that emotion and process that emotion and internalize that and sit in that bad feeling, they want to get rid of it as fast as possible, and then they try to go out and like attack. They try to attack people. They'll like attack. They'll blame other people. They'll like scapegoat a lot. They'll scapegoat minorities, or just scapegoat other people. Because they found out that late millennials and early Gen Z and now Gen Alpha have their own spaces where the same thing could happen pretty easily. And we don't need Fox News anymore. Where did this start? These days there's a whole manosphere, right? And that's what lots of people think of. But that's not where they started. They found gamers. You know what gamer rage is? This is the same thing as gamer rage. Where they realized a lot of gamers will do bad in a game. They feel embarrassed about it. And then they start blaming their teammates. They'll smash their stuff. They'll hit themselves. They'll scream a slur in chat. And there's a study. Low-performing competitive male gamers are more sexist and racist, but higher performing, like people who are just good at games, don't worry about it. It doesn't bother them. Because it's a reaction to this, like, they realize themselves they are bad, and instead of processing that or like, how can I improve or whatever, or accepting that and being okay with that feeling, they just snap and they just push back. And they push out and take it on other people. And in competitive games especially, like team-based games like League of Legends, it's a stressful environment. You're constantly dealing with like these stressful attacks and situations, like even in the game, like that are healthy, you know, just the gameplay loop. And you have to quickly like be under that pressure and stress and then react and deal with it. And a lot of games are like, have kind of violence-based mechanics as well. I'm not saying video games make people violent, but you know, that's how you deal with problems. It's that like discuss like, ew, kill it. There's an enemy, kill them. Like those are the kinds of instincts. It's those very like amygdala type instincts. But it does bleed out of just the game and into the players and the meta of it, where they do bad, they lose, and then they'll start attacking other people, other players. They'll blame women. They'll blame people of color. They'll be racist. They'll just say stuff. Not even because it's deeply held, but because they just need anywhere else or anything else to blame and to like output. So, even without necessarily knowing this like biological mechanism or this psychological mechanism or knowing why, like this is a pattern that's real. It's like a meta that exists. And it's not just that. These are also these young gamers have like those big beefy throbbing amygdalas. And seek out those kinds of stressful content that then they can like react to and indulge that feeling of like disgust and bad. And a lot of these people, like the really toxic gamers, do themselves have bad parents. They have deadbeat dads. They have like a single mom who neglects them, or maybe abuses them. It's the same pattern repeating itself for a new generation. There's not lead, but some of their media exposure is constant and is still indulging the same instincts and letting them exercise that same part of their brain all the time, all the time. And while they're playing a game, even or alongside that, they are also on YouTube. It used to just be YouTube. Now there's like other streaming sites and stuff. But we'll just do YouTube. Remember Gamergate? Remember how Gamergate started? It took this sense that modern games were bad, that games journalism couldn't be trusted, and it's women's fault. Like that, it was preying on the same kinds of instincts. It was preying on that same sort of thing, that distrust. And to these days, you have literally like factory farm YouTube channels that just take, usually you start with an IP that you also recognize and are familiar with from childhood. Like it plays in that nostalgia, familiarity, safety thing too, of like, I don't know, Spider-Man. Remember Spider-Man growing up? Spider-Man, OMG, Superman, wow. And they take all these like Star Wars, typically fantasy and sci-fi type media that's like very sort of childish, but you can still enjoy it as an adult. Like everyone, I'm a huge nerd. I love sci-fi media and stuff. Start with something and then be like, this is bad now. It's ruined now. And they make everyone scared about that. It's doing that same sort of thing. It's starting that loop of like, here's something familiar that you recognize, like object recognition. Bad, scary, minorities are going to take it away from you. Then they feel ashamed, and then they get really angry at like minorities or like specific like directors or writers or producers. This is where the alt-right started. It's very easy to take that loop and just start slipping into like who's to blame. They would just throw in some suggestions, like right around here. Like thing bad, you feel bad about it, or we've made you angry about it. And then, hey, by the way, it's women's fault. Hey, by the way, it's black people's fault. Hey, by the way, it's Jewish people's fault. Like they just, all it takes is a little push to throw an idea in, like while the explosion's going off. And then it steers people into exercising a regular muscle and training their way into like far right bigotry. And they just go off the deep end. That's all it is. And this is how they've managed to re-up for a new generation. And they've kept this going over the years. You can still find them saying like YouTube channels on YouTube's media property is bad. They also have the manosphere now, and the manosphere works the same way, where they don't know how to date. They're lonely. They reach out to lonely teens and boys. Then they make them feel bad about that, and then they tell them it's women's fault. It's awful. Yeah, I consider YouTube. Yeah, and a lot of them don't post for YouTube channels. They start in these like media and gaming spaces that are attracting people who are like into like action media or like action games or like, stressful competitive games, stuff like that. Yeah, or just like appealing to media properties you liked as a kid, like superheroes and stuff. And you think you're just watching media videos or whatever, and then you get pulled into this. So the manosphere does the same thing, but they just prey on like, you're lonely, you're a teenager who doesn't know how to get a girlfriend or talk to women. And they do this same thing. And they blame women and they get angrier and angrier. And people who run those manosphere stuff, like they're counting on this, by the way. They know this is a loop. They know you just get addicted to this and you keep doing this. Their goal is not to help you like get a relationship. Their goal is to suck you into this loop, because really what this teaches you is to crave this feeling, to crave this like recognize bad thing and react to bad thing. Because this attack, this pushback, is how you reclaim like this feeling of dominance. Like you blame other people, you scapegoat other people. It makes you feel good and in control, and lets you kind of offload your shame. So like it's this weird circle that's been going on for a decade, ever since. By the way, a lot of people are confused with like the Donald Trump stuff of why did he win young male voters in 2024. It's because thank you for stopping by. It's because they kept this up. This never stopped. Gamergate never stopped. People just stopped paying attention to it. A lot of like young white boys literally have deified Henry Cavill's Superman from like the really bad Justice League movies that are just like objectively bad movies because there's all this like religious god imagery in them, and they've like rebooted like it's really sort of like pseudo like Christianity kind of thing around literally Henry Cavill as Superman. And then they call Marvel bad, and they call like James Gunn in the new DC movies bad. This is an ongoing front in a Gamergate war by the people who are just looking for anything to be mad about. And the funny thing is, this is the case where like those Zack Snyder DC movies are just objectively bad. Like they're just badly written. There's a reason like they just stopped doing that. They went a different direction. They're just not good movies. They don't have good like morals. They don't have a good representation of the character. It doesn't feel right. Like there's just lots of ways to like honestly critique them. But they've taken the stance that like that needs to be the good thing in their narratives. They can punch down on everything else, including newer like popular adaptations of stuff. Yeah, and they do this with like all media. Like, and they get into these weird corners. Like they're defending nonsense. Like the Manosphere's biggest leaders were like Andrew Tate, who's like creepy and ugly and has rapey vibes. Weren't they something about sex trafficking? I don't know, the allegations or what they were convicted of. I don't know, but like, ew. Like women have nothing to do with that. Women do not find that stuff attractive at all. Those guys, those like Manosphere influencers, are literally paying for women to like pretend to date them on stream, or like they're like paying prostitutes because women will not be with them for free. Like they're disgusting, and it's weird because like I'm a lesbian, right? And we've noticed the effects of this engine going off because this has really just profited off of keeping this loop going as men have gotten worse and worse and angrier and angrier and like more miserable because all they're doing is like feeding the amygdala impulse on a loop. And it's not working. They're not getting relationships because it's like when they pay money for this. It's like an addiction. And so it's made men like on average just so red flaggy that like it's now a canon event, like a universal experience for like myself and like other lesbians I know. If we have like female friends who are straight, they will turn to like the bisexuals and the lesbians in our group and be like, oh, I wish I was gay. I wish I were gay. Like, alas, I am heterosexual and wants to be with a man. And that's caused like such a weird thing, but like they just can't find a man who's not just like this red flaggy like rage addict. And the standards are low. Like, have you seen the kinds of like younger guys that are getting girlfriends? They're just like happy to be there. They're like, kind of sloppy gamers. They look like teddy bears. Like they can be out of shape. They can be bald. They can have big doofy glasses. They can be huge dorks who like go to like gaming conventions. Like the bar is so low. But if they're just like happy with themselves and like genuinely excited to like engage with a woman as a person, like there are people who like they have so many options these days. And so like a lot of like my lesbian friends, like we get conversation by like, oh, you're straight but like you wish you could be with a woman, and they'll kind of try but like their heart's not in it. And they feel like bad about their own heterosexuality because like it's that hard for them to find a decent man. They go on Tinder and it's like they're just angry, obsessed podcast bros, and they're just like it's an addiction. It's an addiction, and like it's similar to like trading on like betting markets. It's a similar kind of thing. That like urgency, unsureness they keep subjecting themselves to, that risk of punishment. They just keep going into it. They keep going into it, and it's made men like scary and more likely to like lash out and be impulsive and violent a lot of time. And so like it's just literally not worth it. So like it's like a bizarre kind of market ripple that I just really need to talk about, because like as a queer woman, it's funny, we've seen like the downstream effect of this. Some of like my friends who are single have talked about like women who are bisexual women who are single, or like lesbian women who are single, will find there are some pretty straight girls who might be like a Kinsey 1, or sort of like refugees basically. Like there's like these mostly straight girls, or like just wholly straight girls, who are really desperately trying to get themselves to like see if they could date a woman and like be into that sexually, not because they're attracted to women, but because like so many men are just not worth it and they just really want to be women off our hands. Like, I mean, we're drowning in it over here, for real. Like, get it together, love yourself. Stop getting off of like the rage addiction media. It's not helping you. A lot of like what these men do also like as this outlet, besides just attacking people outright, will take that feeling, that impulse of anger that comes back out to push back, and they'll go to the gym. So they'll get like really angry, they'll wind themselves up, and then they'll like do some reps at the gym, which makes them stronger. But when they're that angry and they're only getting angrier, being more physically strong is no longer like a hot thing. It's like a scary thing. It's like you are an angry person who is now strong enough to like kill somebody if you want to. That doesn't make you badass or attractive. That's like a red flag. Like no one wants you in their periphery where you could physically hurt them because it seems like you want to. And the stronger you are, it seems the more you just want to hurt people. They're always like workout because you like it and because you love yourself, but it's just caused this like engine of down spiral. I don't know. Like I know a lot of like manosphere types, online people refer to like the dating market like a market, but this has just caused like a market crash in the value of an average man. I have no stake in this, but I don't know. My lesbian friends and I, who are my partner, like we just keep getting some like really basic straight girls kind of haphazardly trying to hit on us. And it's, it's novel the first couple times, but take them off our hands. What if you want a relationship with a woman who's constantly afraid of you? That's something. Probably not something good. But I don't know. Maybe you should get in a relationship with a woman who you're also scared of, like a goth baddie with like really tall spiky boots. And then it's just like tense, it's like a standoff until one person is like, "Hey, you want to get dinner?" And yeah, this is a good point from YouTube chat. The base reason is to cold. The U.S. has disenfranchised so many portions of the country. These guys can't be the hero, breadwinner, even get out of their mom's basement. That's a big problem with this. And it's a big problem with propaganda pushed by the Heritage Foundation specifically, which bankrolled Charlie Kirk and pushed him into colleges. Oh, so someone in TikTok chat, yeah, RPG Mendicant. Superman is not Jesus. True. Superman is absolutely not Jesus, but they treat him like Jesus. It's weird and creepy. It's like cultish. And with that, there's this lack of like male role models and this like way to go. And they pushed Charlie Kirk onto college boys, trying to get them to internalize this idea they just need to be like this strong breadwinner. Like you literally need to be a Superman. You need to be like an Ubermensch kind of thing, which is Nazi propaganda. And internalize like if you are not able to just make a ton of money and support a whole family on your salary alone, it's a you problem, which is not true. It's not your fault. It's okay. Don't hold yourself to that standard. It's not fair. Both partners like should contribute, or like try their best to contribute. Sometimes that'll just be like one partner contributing and the other not, and which could be a man or a woman. Shout out to like male wives. Shout out to shout out to stay-at-home Catboy maids. But yeah, so like they make men blame themselves for this rather than saying like they need help, they need the government to help create jobs, or like they just need social services or support. Because it's a way for like the rich country club people to scapegoat literally like the young white boys and like to just internalize this, which just makes them hate themselves more, and they do not deserve it. Which I wish, I don't know, like it's a very feminist idea. Like we have your back on this, but they got kind of lost in translation, I guess. And I wish more of those boys and men could sit down and like talk with feminists more because like we want to help you. We really do. And you're really getting screwed over by this one. And because there's this like, you just have to be the breadwinner, like just do it yourself. It internalizes this like anger and rage because they're putting more stakes on themselves. So this like loop gets like tightened and pressurized. It's like a hydraulic press on top of it, which is really, really, really bad. Just this like raising stakes and raising standards. And then because they can't do it, that will literally push them into war, or into abusive relationships. That's the other scary thing. Like it's going to make them, they're going to take it out on the women they get with, which makes them less likely to be in relationships, which makes them angrier and more of a threat. But if they can't get in a relationship and they just have this and they need an outlet and they feel this pressure to succeed and to be a part of something and to carry and lead, they will join the military because they have no other prospects, and they're like scared and they're angry and they're hateful. And so it's literally like the Heritage Foundation is trying to push young white men to hate women, try to be the breadwinner, don't consider that maybe the rich could help pay for the messing up society, push them into the military, and then they will just die fighting wars for oil, which profit like the rich people in the Heritage Foundation who are invested in stuff like that, which helps like Israel at a high level. Like it's the same kind of thing. Like this grinds down the individual's brain into just this like incapable of high level thought rage machine, and then you can just kind of use you or throw you in the meat grinder. And people will go for it because at that point they feel so hateful and ashamed of themselves and so full of rage they want to push out. If you just offer them, hey, here's a way you can use your rage, go join the military, that they'll do it. They'll do it because there's no other outlet at a level that can like satisfy and depressurize this like shame that's built up. So if you are watching this and this applies to you demographically, it's okay. It's not your fault. If you find yourself indulging this kind of media, like in games, in like movie reviews that are really just saying everything's bad, and they don't let you like anything anymore, yeah, they'll join ICE. Yeah, it's awful. Please know you have value. You deserve to be loved. It's not your fault. You can like back away from this and like shrink this. It's okay to walk away from this feeling. And the way to walk this feeling is like, hey, it's okay. We all mess up sometimes. We all feel like a failure sometimes. That's not the end of the world. It does not mean you're wrong or broken. Don't take that on others. That doesn't help. That's like bad people trying to use you. It's okay to work on yourself, take some time. Literally do it for you. Find a hobby, stop doing something that's toxic. Enjoy your life. And the people that end up with relationships, like the young men especially, who do end up in relationships a lot, are genuinely just happy to be there and literally not a threat. The bar is so low right now. Like to actually date a woman, it's just like, don't be a violent threat to women. Just don't do this attack or blame thing. Just don't do that. And I mean, it seems like literally it's about like 90% of men on dating apps and stuff, according to some straight friends, are like at this stage right now. Just don't be into that. Someone said, I do think that there is a salary safety issue for men. Companies used to make an effort to grow talent internally. It was seen as safe for growing a career. It seems that aspect is gone. And that's absolutely true. Yeah, there's this like shame cycle that's pushed on that by like companies have no loyalty to you. So even if you do hard work and you follow everything you're supposed to do, the fact that you could just get rejected is embarrassing. And people like internalize that. And that adds to the shame. People take it out on stuff. But it's not necessarily like, you know, they're not taking it out on what really caused this. And even taking it out in general, like, is not healthy. It's not constructive. It's just a way to like protect your own ego and save face. But yeah, no, like the guys ending up with like the goth baddies right now. I'm a woman enjoyer, you know. I know what hot ladies look like. It's pretty easy. Like I'm a lesbian nerdy gamer girl, and I have a hot girlfriend. And you can too. I'm not charging for a course on dating. I'm not financially incentivized to do this. I'm financially incentivized to like reduce the volume of spam messages from like our obnoxious single straight friends. And you know, like there's a lot of women out there. They want to go on dates. The bar is low. They just want someone nice. Yeah, and also like it's harm reduction in general, because all those men who like are lonely and angry, they just end up like hating all women, and they get violent, like kind of indiscriminatory, and like sometimes that's just assaulting their partner. Sometimes it's just on the street attacking a random person who's walking by. Sometimes it's just like actually terrorist attacks. Calm down. Like it's becoming a liability for all of us. Don't do that when you can actually date a baddie. You know? Someone in chat says, 90% of women are looking for 1% of men. 6 foot, 6 figures. I just don't believe that, honestly. I really don't. Like, I get some people do. Absolutely. Like, I'm acknowledging that. Some people do. It might even be a lot of people. But, like, aren't a lot of men also looking for, like, really hot women with, like, big boobs, you know? I'm a fan. Like, people just generally like hot people and will prefer that. And I don't know. I mean, rich seems good. Like, I prefer someone rich. But that's like a one means of that's what happens. Like, it's really bad. Um, like I know a couple of girls who've done that, who've like looked for like a sugar daddy or whatever, and it's like they're just bad people. They're like bad, creepy people who could just be normal and get a relationship for free, but they literally like would rather pay people to be with them than to work on their own personalities. If you have like any bit of riz, people will like being around you for free. Um, and yeah, it's also fine like if you're not tall. Some people just like tall people. Some people just like busty people. That's not everybody. And why are you wasting your time like trying to get the person who's really into tall people to like you if you're not tall? Like, it's really not a deal breaker. A lot of women are more focused on like personality type stuff than like just physical traits. It's kind of deeper than that. And like frankly, I'll be totally real with you. The kinds of women who are just into like I just want a tall guy and to have lots of money, um, are themselves really basic and shallow. Like you're I don't know. It's not worth competing for their attention. It's just not. It's really not. Those people are like if they're shallow, and you probably don't want to spend time with them anyway. There's definitely like there's a market of like women who are hot who just want a man who is hot. But that's just like people using each other for their bodies and they don't really want anything deeper than that. Um like there's so many other ways. Also, yeah, like things like if you, to the extent that attractiveness is just a factor, hygiene, clothes, makeup. Like a lot of women are not super hot naturally, but like do the work. There are so many wonderful modern tools at your disposal to make yourself look better. But also men who think they just have to hit the gym and be like really tall and really muscular to be attractive. First of all, your personality is bad because the bar is really not that high. You could be likable without being super fit. And two, it's okay if you do want to be super fit, but then like be realistic. You are trying to just build a hot body, and then like you will find women, maybe also with hot bodies, who are trying to just use you for your body, because like you're hot. Like if you want to be a sex object, go for it. But that's just one way to live. But yeah, this is kind of like the Gen Z approach to making young men into fascists. It's all just exploiting this like kind of desperation around dating, and like media fueled anger. But instead of Fox News, it's just like YouTube videos about Captain Marvel or whatever. So that's my nonsense presentation. Um, I will end that clip there. So that's my little rant. I apologize if it comes off a little insane. Um, but yeah, if you think that women only date like really hot men, I don't think you know a lot of women, or I think you think a lot of men are hot. Which if you think a lot of men are hot, good news for you is you might have some options you've not fully reconciled with. Because yeah, like it's the bar is really low, and it's also I think a case of people getting their sense of what people look like and what people are doing from like 4chan infographics, but don't actually have a very realistic wide social network. The number one piece of advice I have honestly is like if you can love yourself, other people will love you too. They'll see that. If you're just like you're cool, you know what you're about, you're good at a thing, you're happy, and you like take decent care of yourself, other people see that and that's like pretty appealing. And it'll just kind of happen. Yeah, and like also like it's okay if you like if people don't want to be in a relationship, but it's become a source of like it's a pain point that's used to fuel actual fascism, and I think fascism is bad. It's kind of become a bit of a liability to the world, I think. Huh. Let's see. Whew. What should I end stream? Maybe. We'll see if there's any other news that's happening. Um, let's see. There was one weird thing that happened where Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders was asked to leave from a restaurant, and it was people were saying it's like political prosecution, but actually it turns out the restaurant had like a 90-minute time limit, and she was overstaying the limit, and she had tons of security guards around her, and it was freaking people out, and they're like, get out of our restaurant so we can like feed other people food. You're freaking people out. So it's sort of a non-story. And this is just like a weird fake kind of prosecution complex. It's not really worth, like, I'm not recording this to make a video out of it or anything. But it's just another case of this like playing victim, trying to, this is the sort of flood the zone, make noise, make a story out of nothing kind of thing. The food was already paid for. She was there over an hour and 15 minutes out of a 90-minute limit. Protective detail all around that was like making people start to look and give them weird eyes. Asked to leave because her presence was supposedly making employees threatened and uncomfortable because of her political views. And she like sucks. So like the government has the right, a private business has the right to be like, get out, we don't want you here. It's not discrimination. But yeah, so that's what the random conservatives are doing these days. Pretending to be oppressed because they're told to leave a restaurant after freaking everybody out. So that's the like jump up on the counter, I'm Pickle Rick level of oppression, I suppose. Meanwhile, the SAVE Act is trying to threaten trans people's rights to do normal things, like go to the bathroom or play sports. But no, we need to worry about Sarah Huckabee Sanders bringing in a fucking Secret Service detail to a restaurant and then overstaying her time limit, I guess. Equally important, I'm sure. Asshole is not a protected class. There is the Equal Rights Amendment that I really wish would pass, but it would be redone now. It's a constitutional amendment that would like really just double guarantee we can't have discrimination on the basis of sex. It's been kicked around since like the 70s, I think, and unfortunately has not really passed. But I think if Democrats are looking for like something good, like a big cool idea to try and pass something, I think the Equal Rights Amendment would be pretty good. Hi. It was Kansas passed a law that invalidated all trans IDs, which is bullshit and weird and pointless. Once again, I think we should proportion our concern to problems that are actually happening instead of bullying trans people in Kansas. And I gotta be honest, I don't think there are that many people in Kansas in general. I'm not worried about what's going on in Kansas. Like, this is just bullying trans people who've done nothing in Kansas. It's pathetic. It's so pathetic. Ugh. Is there anything on SAVE Act specifically? I've heard the SAVE Act is set to fail. They just do not have the votes for it. They're trying to, like, virtue signal and go for it anyway. Now look, some stocks. Everything is down. The Dow Jones is down 36%. The S&P is down 0.29%. The NASDAQ is down 0.33%. Great. Economy. One more thing here. I do think this is important. From CNBC. 9% of ACA healthcare plan enrollees go uninsured after enhanced subsidies expire, poll finds. The Affordable Care Act is not necessarily good in like how it's implemented. It's bad. It's flawed. It helps an insurance monopoly, but it was an improvement over the healthcare we had before. And during COVID, there's a push to increase the subsidies to like make healthcare a little more affordable. Just like, oh, it's for COVID, but like we're just gonna keep renewing it because it was a nice thing to do. It helped people get healthcare. And Trump's big bad bill cut it. So In this new year, healthcare is expiring and people can't afford it. But trans people can't have a driver's license in Kansas now. So, can't let those trans girls drive to the community center and play basketball, huh? Good use of our time and resources, you think? How is this our politics? How is that where this nation is at? It's so bad. And fuck transphobia. I can't imagine a more pointless wedge issue. And the people who push transphobia, they fucking hate you. They hate everybody. They don't even care enough to manufacture a new wedge issue. They just reheated the old rotten leftovers from Don't Say Gay in the 2000s, and also like literally like racial desegregation from the Jim Crow era of bathrooms and like sports. That it's like they don't even care. They phone this in. It's another like shitty reboot of like a TV show for streaming services because creativity is dead. That's all like transphobia is. It's the most carpet-bagged culture war shit show. It's the most virtue signaling like real harm over literally nothing. And I can't imagine any sane person caring about trans people. Like they don't know any. They know them from their search history, but I'm pretty sure based on their search history, they want to keep trans people around. They haven't really connected those two ideas, have they? Considering that even the flawed ACA requires a giant majority and still even cost in midterms. I have no idea where people think Medicare for all is even on the table. Yeah. The thing with Medicare for all is Medicare for all became a signifier of a broader thing of like a fuck institutions, fuck big pharma, fuck health companies, like health insurance companies. You fuck elitism. Like Medicare for all has way more appeal among voters than it even like showed on the basis of it. And like I want better healthcare. Medicare for all, like I mean I support, but like that's just I don't know enough about the issue to know is that the only way or the best way to fix healthcare. I just know it's a way to fix healthcare. And maybe that's good. Maybe that's enough. I don't know. But like it's kind of a key issue that like means more than it does in a way that might create enough of widespread voter pressure to push for it, even though it's like a big swing. Similarly, like APAC has become the next version of that big issue, where like to be against APAC really is not just about APAC in particular, but like it's a stance on foreign policy, on campaign finance reform, on Citizens United, on a general fear of the elites and everything, and like anyone with money and like class issues, kind of all in one. Like it becomes a signal issue. Like Medicare for all could get you some people who are now like crunchy granola alt-right trad wife Joe Rogan and podcast listeners, who are like the RFK Jr. fans, you know. Oh, cool. Yeah, so it's a proxy issue that like has more leverage than like something similar. Awesome. But with that, it might be time to end the stream. I don't know. I'll see if I can go for like another 20 minutes. Something I really hate. Some news org has tried to reveal the identity of Banksy, which feels like it should not be the priority of the media right now. And as someone who likes whimsy and art and creativity and magic in the world and talent, I don't want to know who Banksy is. Banksy is Banksy, and the fun is in not knowing. Whoever tried to reveal that information is absolutely cringe. Really not much happening right now, huh? It seems like maybe the more we report on this war, the more everyone's going to get freaked out, and the sooner and more dramatically the economy will crash. So it kind of seems like a lot of news sources are sort of shutting up about it. Like, no one really knows what's going on. No one even wants to try predicting anything. Yeah. And yeah, we can't have nice things because we never reckon with America's original sin. True. Racism cuts so fucking deep. I really hate that a lot of leftists try to be like class reductionists and everything, which does not remotely explain the way Americans, rich and poor alike, will throw away massive economic personal gains just to be racist. It just does not make sense to like a Marxist or class interest way. Like there's no reckoning with like the fundamental slavery and racism that America is built on, which is pathetic and bad. College was free until it was desegregated, and now it costs too much for anybody. Fuck that. It's bad. I don't even know what sufficient reparations would look like. But tax the rich because they have all the money now. Now we all suffer because of that. So I couldn't imagine being an actual reporter in these times. Yeah. What bothered me was the what was it? Like Donald calling a reporter like piggy, like quiet piggy, which is now how I'm going to respond to Republican men and just see how they like it. That's the other weird thing is like when they're just hooked in that amygdala fear response and like that trying to mimic authoritarianism, they end up very submissive, which is very exploitable. Like if you're just confident and assertive and direct towards like a really conservative man, they will fold like a lawn chair. Because like they posture on this theoretical being like strong in the alpha or whatever. But I realized something. Like there's that one study about like alpha and beta wolves, but that only applies to like animals who are spiraling out in captivity, are like subservient like that and have that class hierarchy. But I think like these conservative young men are so like not taking care of themselves that that's actually how their own communities work. That's how their spaces work. That's how their podcast sphere works. That's like they literally defer to each other. They'll defer to the biggest bully in the room. I was in a debate once and there was like one conservative guy who's like just lying about the Kirk assassination, trying to blame it on like the radical. It just wasn't true, and it's just like fake news, and they just stumbled over it. They just don't know how to respond to like actual confidence or their own shit because they're so programmed to just like circle jerk to like the same signified phrases and sights and sounds, just like the monkey neuron activated signals. They know to defer to that, and they never expect anyone to just actually not be afraid of them. Thank you so much for the $5, Keeper Pulstians. Thank you. That really means a lot. But yeah, so like the alpha and beta thing is just, it's not true. But like that kind of hierarchical thinking, maybe that is how they're operating. Not how normal people operate. But there's that like sense of authority and like daddy issues. It's really funny, especially like I'm a 5'2" woman. I'm a nerd. I'm not like physically imposing. But when I put on a blue blazer and a hat, like it genuinely messes with their brains. They can't wrap their head around it because I'm visually signifying the things they've grown to like and listen to and turn their brain back on to hear. And that's why I do it. It like cuts through the noise. And they get real confused. It's like you can just like, open the console on their brains. So yeah, just genuinely, it's not worth being afraid of like fascists and like obeying in advance when like they're literally just not they're not smart or confident. Like they want to be so bad, but they're actually trained to like just defer. That's the like amygdala thing. It's like they look for the daddy in the room and then they just like get in line because like they want to be on the side that hurts people, not the side that gets hurt. And they're like looking for hierarchy to follow no matter what. And when you're in that fear critical amygdala kind of response, your higher level like thinking shuts down, And when your brain really wants to shortcut something in an emergency situation, they don't try to make like do decision making themselves. They defer to authority. So like especially if they get scared or like alerted, they will just really fall quick in line. It's deeply enjoyable. Um, Destiny's debate with Constantine to see a full conservative brain reboot in real time. Do you have a link? I might not do it today. I might do it tomorrow. Yeah, they're dead eyes and they get called out. And they look confused. Like they genuinely like they sputter. Because they become self-aware for 1 second, and they really don't like it. And then they get confused and they don't know where to go. And they're just not used to like any confident woman. It just really tickles me. I don't know. Also, just a fun fact. Do you guys know how many conservative men end up in my DMs asking to give me money? Like it's a thing for them. It's happened before. Like even when they posture, like especially the more they posture publicly about being like a like they want to be like the tough alpha in DMs behind closed doors, they're all like bottoms. Like they're so desperate for hierarchy. I don't know if that's TMI. That's not my TMI. That's like their thing. But I'll make fun of them publicly for it. Especially if they try to like leave a mean comment, and I will just leave a meaner comment back. Then they will DM me like on their hands and knees. Like pretty consistently too. I'm not the only one who's figured this out. Like ask more like liberal and left leaning content creators about this. It's a thing. It's like a known thing. I also know there have been instances of leftist content creators who are actually secretly conservative, though. Like, I've seen, like, old group chats and stuff behind closed doors or, like, weird DMs. Like, it's performative for a lot of leftists. It's performative for lots of conservatives. I hope you know I'm not performative in that, like, I literally, like, I invested in this hat. This is embarrassing. I'm cringe embarrassing white woman. That's fair. But I feel like that's my role. Like as a white woman, where like I can just kind of be obnoxious and cringe and keep going. If we have any hope of building woke too, we need to like be less cowardly and hiding and being perfect about everything we say, and just like try and be imperfect. It's okay. I might be cringe sometimes. I might mess up sometimes. That's fine. I'm not perfect. I'm not a moral authority on anything. Generally, black women know what they're doing. Trust. That's my advice. But as a white woman, I can sort of face tank with my privilege, and just be cringe, and be sort of vaguely liberal. I don't know. I consider myself pretty progressive, but as soon as you like ask specific questions about policies or laws, leftists and conservatives will call you a liberal derogatory. So then if you just say, okay, I guess I'm a liberal, and then keep advocating for like better healthcare and bike lanes or whatever, it takes a lot of wind out of those sails. But like there's even enough like cringe around in any way coming off as like liberal online where like this is not worth it. There is more viewership. There's even like all these conspiracies that like, oh, like you're getting like dark money. I don't know. There's a $5 donation in the stream. That's what I'm getting. I'm not hiding shit. There's no big views. There's no big money. It's cringe. You get made fun of if you seem liberal online. Like, you don't do this to be a grifter, you know? I just am bothered by the by nonsense I see from fascists. Yeah. Like, I promise you, if you wanted to be a grifter, there are better ways. There are so many better ways. And it's real dangerous since, like, Taylor Lorenz, who's, like, a filthy liar, tried, like, slandering, like, liberal content creators, like, and pushed this dog whistle, like, weird conspiracies, abusing the phrase dark money, which is technical, which really just has to do with, like, how nonprofits are organized, and ignores the, like, racially important history of why those are set up that way. And it's kind of given a free pass for, like, vaguely conspiratorial populist, some anti-Semitic people, like and any leftists, who just absolutely outright discredit anyone who seems vaguely liberal, which has been used disproportionately to target women and people of color and women of color. as like you're just bought and paid for, which is like conspiratorial and really unfair. And it's just straight up Gamergate rules, actually. Like that does deeply bother me because uh, I've seen Gamergate. It's the way they try to go is like to systemically disqualify and distrust women in general, and then not even listen to you. It's not even like disagreeing with you. It's like they always try to just tune you out. It's it's bad. It's like it has way wider reaching harms. And it's like I've seen a lot of people targeted who like have nothing to do with that one like group that was giving some funding to some creators, right? But it's just it was a blank check to further hate on and distrust and just like not even listen to anyone advocating for doing any progressive like actual progress. And that's just really heartbreaking and sad. Taylor Lorenz, by the way, is a registered Republican who went to a Trump inauguration party. And seems on good terms across the aisle there. So priorities, I guess. I don't know. But also, like, yeah, like leftists always argue, like they just, disqualifying people, calling them liberals. And I just realized, like, it's purity politics, and it's also like it's an abusive tactic to try and like control, like appease me, do more for me, earn my approval, and that's toxic and never ending. And if there's a point where you just say like, okay, if you want to call that liberal, sure, but like I'm just gonna keep standing for the same substance, like which is I think pretty self-evidently like progressive policies. Like I just don't want trans people to die. Call that liberal if you want. I don't care. There's no more power left in there. Like if you're not trying to just gain their approval of words, and I just think minorities' real rights are more important than being cool enough for an online leftist to call you an online leftist. Yeah, it is like this endless gatekeeping. But gatekeeping for what? Like, what's behind the gate? The conservatives got it right because they did the opposite. They realized, like, you want to be mainstream, you want to be normal. Like, frame your craziest stuff as normal and for everybody and not a big deal. That's how you normalize things and, like, win the Overton window. Leftists just try to kick everyone out. Like, the left starts at anti-capitalism and then wonder why they don't have enough people to win a vote. Which is a shame, because sometimes I'd like them to win a vote, but I don't know. I like good things. Yeah, let's get labeled liberal and then like take offense to it. Yeah, and it's at a point like what are they trying to prove? Like why are they insecure about that? What are they trying to prove to each other? Like liberal has become just a nonsense dirty word for literally every political affiliation. Like it just means nothing anymore. It's just bad. No one wants to be a liberal. Everyone's scared of that. The key is to say I don't care. Do you support this bill or not? And that's the thing, yeah, like it ends up in this loop of gatekeeping for the sake of gatekeeping. That's just pretty sad. I'll end this stream in a few minutes, and then tomorrow we'll watch that debate, okay? But yeah. Oh, how do we swing anti-Israel without going full anti-Semitic? This is a problem because no one, I'm not sure if this needle can be threaded. There's no way to satisfy the entire online left. Everyone can draw their own bar. Everyone on the left is going to say, you're not anti-Zionist enough. Everyone on the right will say, you're too anti-Semitic because you're not pro-Israel enough. Everyone in this growing red-brown alliance of leftists and groypers will say, you're not anti-Semitic enough. So I'm not sure if this is an issue that can really be won by any politician trying to do anything reasonable, especially on the Democrat side. I do think it would be fair stance to say, like, very clearly, we don't like Israel doing this. Maybe to signal being against AIPAC or something, but I don't know the math of how many, like, supporters that would get you in online comments versus how many ad buys, like, PAC money could get you. That's just, like, literally you have to choose one or the other and see what gives you better influence. I think what would be a very fair, reasonable, passable policy would be to reduce aid to Israel and to condition it on defensive use only. I think like that's what you really need to do. Like that was kicked around during the Biden administration. But like any aid, you can justify it as like this is trying to create a stalemate where there can't be big war in the region. But then Israel just started attacking stuff. Like there needs to be an in between. And I think conditioning it is saying, hey, use this defensively only, or else we pull all funding and support, might be fair. But still, that's a policy that feels like a compromise and not enough to satiate anyone, like ideologically. Yeah, Kamala tried that. It didn't work so well. Yeah, so it's like, it's a weird thing where like, I don't know how to make everyone happy. Any fight or position, like, or idea or plan politically that starts with everyone just needs to think blank, everyone just needs to do blank, is doomed to fail. That's why like a lot of like leftist like anarcho-communist types will be like everyone just needs to like overthrow capitalism and then just all work together and build a commune. It's like you are never going to get everyone on board. Like I'm sorry, I've like worked, done psychological work on design teams and stuff. I've done lots of user research. Some people suck. People are going to be rogue and unpredictable, and there's like a bell curve of how people are going to do on anything. You can get a lot of people to do something. You can never get everyone to do something. Taking a winning stance on Israel, only the Democrats are going to be held to a standard on this, which is sad. The Republicans will not. Maybe that'll change. Everyone needs class consciousness. It doesn't really work. Like, I just don't think there's anything you can do to be like, we've won over the entire online left. I just don't think that happens. Which is this sort of sad problem. Everyone needs class consciousness. Everyone needs historical materialism. Also, I sometimes have, it's usually leftists will try to mansplain me and like make angry stitches or reactions or like send me hate comments or hate DMs. Especially if I make a concept like with kids gloves explaining like baby's first conversation that like maybe the world is not a just fair place. It's like with a target audience of like trying to reach conservatives on what I know are like the break points there in their ideological worldview. And leftists will always like try to mansplain me on not knowing enough, as if I don't know ball. And that's the thing is, I know ball. Like, I read books. Do you know how infuriating it is to read Das Kapital? Because your leftist friends tell you to read theory, and then to find out none of them actually read theory. Do you know how infuriating it is to talk to so-called Christians, and they're like, you just gotta read scripture, and you've actually read scripture, and they haven't? And you're an atheist, and you're like, why are we doing this? They don't know what they're talking about. They're like, gay marriage is bad, it's against the Bible. And you're like, hey, I got a source on that? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, well. It's bike lanes, it's un-American. Yeah. The biggest political black pill is like neoliberal. And neoliberal did mean something specific. It had to do with like free market policies and stuff. But like, if to be called a liberal is bad, to be called a neoliberal with like to be called a neoliberal is very, very bad. Have you looked up what neoliberalism is or like neoliberal policies? There's a subreddit for neoliberals. You know what the neoliberals want right now? Affordable housing and bike lanes and like multicultural food culture where like you can start a little food truck and like have healthcare, and then we build a park and we like fight climate change. They're the most like nerdy little policy wonks. Like finally learning like what the big bad neoliberal is, and it's just like the just an accountant in a button-up shirt who's just like a cringe queer ally. I don't know. Yeah, and it's like I don't like and I feel like there's reasonable ground if everyone cares about the same ends. Like we want good things for people, we want healthcare and stuff, and it's like what means should you use for that? Are there different free market solutions or more interventionist, like slightly authoritarian government gets involved regulatory ways to do that? And that would be like that's a space to test different hypotheses in different areas of who should win an election. You could have a more free market neoliberal approach or a more state regulatory socialist approach. And you could test a few different approaches, but that's a conversation to me where like everyone's supposed to be on the same side there. You shouldn't be like enemies. And you can like test all that, and then be like, okay, we want the same thing. We're trying different approaches. Are these better or worse at achieving the same thing? But I don't know. Online discussion seems very removed from what that is. Wasn't Reagan a neoliberal? Reagan was like a neocon, right? Wasn't Reaganism the start of like the neoconservative movement? And I feel like both neoliberal and neocon are like outdated terms at this point. They're like generationally old. To be new would be something else now. Um, just read romance fantasy. It's more fun and less disappointing. True. Yeah, it's like 1984. People cite it with no idea. Yeah, yeah. And like, I don't have any strong personal preference on like a free market solution or a regulatory solution. I don't know. Like, but that's an objective scientific question you can answer, right? Like, what are the pros and cons? Do a study. But as soon as you try to get into specifics or like advocate solving a problem or like a specific bill, that's when I've noticed leftists will call you the liberal the most. And then you're like, oh, sorry, do you have a different idea for what we should do? Because I'm open to that and I think we want the same things. And then they'll call you a liberal again. I'm going to start calling conservatives liberals. I want to see what they'll do. Just be like, quiet, libtard. Like, and just make them defend themselves. Or just like call them a furry. I don't know, just take a swing. See what they do. Like, I'm tired of just anyone who wants to actually achieve something good, like, being attacked from the outside. Oh, yeah, okay, if your college checks on neoliberalism, Reagan, Thatcher, Jin Xiaoping, yeah, I guess they count, yeah. See, that I wouldn't support. Reagan did a lot of bad things. But, yeah, no, it's everyone, like, on the far left and on the right loves just, like, punching towards the kind of moderate to progressive left. But none of them can actually, like, take what they can dish. And that's, like, a big thing I started the channel to do. Like, call them out on it. Like, stop playing defense. I don't know. They're not used to it at all. Also, if you see a class reductionist leftist, like, call them on their ableism and racism and sexism. And then watch them call you a slur. It's happened to me several times. On TikTok, too. They get real mad real quick. That's an interesting one. I was not expecting that. But yeah, conservatives, like, hold them accountable. There's so much, like, questioning and, like, desires for evidence from the left, but the right especially has never done that. Like, that's, like, why I started this channel. Like, that's my hypothesis, is they cannot take what they can dish out. And my evidence for this is Elon Musk, because Elon Musk tried getting into the Trump sphere and on that train, like, at the start of the administration, and he literally, like, could not handle the critique from normal people and the normal world being held to a normal standard. And he folded, and, like, it clearly emotionally caused him to crash out. And he was kicked out and fired, like, within, what was it, 3 months? Maybe less? Like, that's something. That's definitely something. Donald Trump gets a pass. He's been too normalized for a decade. But if you actually call them out and hold them to account, they fold. They cannot handle the pressure. Like, don't let them. Like, give people hard questions. Wear a hat like this. And they do not like having to play defense, ever. That's the whole amygdala thing. Is like, when they feel that shame, they just want to lash out. They just want to go on the offense. Alright, it's that time, and I think I'm going to end the stream. Thank you for hanging out. I'm gonna go get some food. Have a good night, everybody. Oh god, the Hassan thing. We will talk about Hassan Piker more later. I hate that guy. Okay.